We are ready. We're ready once again for another Friday live stream here. I see a lot of people in the place as well. It must be because price has actually moved more than a couple $1,000 in the last 24 hours. Crazy shit. But I mean, really, Bitcoin's still more or less in a range. And I don't suspect that we're going to really be moving out of that range until at least next week. But, you know, still things are happening in the background, and $1,000 moves are $1,000 moves. But there are many other things to be speaking about as well. In fact, many familiar faces here too. What's up, Mr. Van Doyce? And he says, can't join what? What is also saying? Are you going to pin my message? Are you going to pin my message or not? Let me know now. Where is your message? I don't see your message. Okay, I see it right there. All right, fair enough. We'll replace the pin message. I always like to pin a message that I look at in the early session of the stream, just because, you know, sometimes people say some funny shit, and it's pretty damn funny. Just drop in to say, fuck you, Crown, says Mr. Van Doyson. Fuck you too as well, sir, and see you tomorrow. As always, that is how Elsa does indeed let me know that it's time to go to bed. She literally will say that to me every night. It's actually hilarious. What's up, Mr. Little Baller? Hate from Finel? Finel? We're more like passive-aggressive or something? Oh, yes. I know exactly where you're from, sir. Ben's chair says, holy shit, the camera was on this whole time. That's right, it was on this whole time. Insane. Actually insane. Alkian Sinaz, good morning to you. Terry Tees, when we move up or down? That's the question. When will we move up or down? Well, I do expect that it's going to be an early October move. And probably to the downside, man. I mean, most things still point to the downside. It's most of the same setups that we've been looking at for the past couple weeks. The rejection last week at 117,500 was very, very critical because that was the one hopium for Boulos to hold above that number by specifically last Friday's closure. Instead of holding above that number, it did reject on exactly that last day. So to me, that is quite emphatic in stating that, hey, you know, risk is to the downside right now. I still don't think that this is necessarily going to be a sort of market cycle ending moment, but I do think that we're getting something, you know, more complex, which is going to be sideways and downside for, you know, probably a while longer, maybe another month or two. And then, you know, if Bitcoin wants to put another higher low on something like a high term time frame, like a monthly, then that would look pretty damn good to me for still a run, probably looking more like early 2026 now. And I think that these 4-year cycles are just more or less sunzo. We're just getting sort of the, again, the same sort of behavior that we've been seeing for the past 3 years. Just up, sideways, up, sideways, up, sideways, big ranges, of course, because Bitcoin is at a big number, big, massive, girthy green number. But now that I recognize it, I mean, little bit of context here. I mean, shit, man, it's actually pretty crazy to me that Bitcoin's been about 1, 2, 3, 4, about to finish 5 months above 100,000 US dollars. That's fucking crazy, man. That's almost half of a year above 6 digits, which is just, again, I always like to, you know, pull back to, you know, really where I came back into this market, which was in 2016, 2017. I mean, this is just still fucking insane, man. That's 100x gain. That's literal 100x gain, or more than 100x at this point. Anyways, Nishan is looking at DELTACORP. We'll look at all this shit a little bit later. In fact, you know what? Let's just do a quick early session look at the traditional market major indices here. Check out what SPY and NASDAQ are doing. SPY, overall, I mean, still good, but in the short term, does this one pull back a little bit more? Yes, indeed. It did close below our very, very highly prized red 5 EMA right there. So ultimately, I do look at this as pullback into a higher low. Still can come a little bit lower, but, you know, it's in one of those phases right now. And I just don't think that we're going to see anything significant to the upside throughout the rest of September. I mean, that's really not saying much at this point anymore. But you know, for the most part, September is, I guess, over. And it's time to be looking for correction. Time to be looking for a correction into higher lows, I should add. But yeah, correction nonetheless. Same shit over here with NASDAQ, more or less the exact same chart. This one a little bit more relevant to Bitcoin. But of course, while this one has been making new all-time highs for the past, I don't know, a couple weeks, Bitcoin not following. So as always, a weak laggard. So, you know, it does still depend on strength of the broad market here, particularly the tech sector. And I'm looking at all of my stonks over here, and they're stonking it down, actually, except for this. This fucking thing, man, it really is the craziest thing that I own. It really is the craziest thing that I own. It's Kratos. It's a defense technology stock. They produce drones and all that kind of shit. And this thing is just going to the moon and beyond. I mean, for fuck's sake, man, I called this one out when I did that long-term investing video many moons ago. And this thing, I mean, it's like, it's more bullish than I ever fucking considered, I guess. At some point, this thing's going to blow off its top top too. I mean, shit, that's probably not too far away, but goddamn, man, what a run. Straight up from $10 to $85 almost. This is a fucking stock. It's not even an altcoin, man. Like, that's... That is some crypto shit right there. That is some crypto shit right there. But in traditional markets, also my REMX. This is, of course, rare earth minerals ETF, or a rare earth and strategic metals ETF for US metals. This one's also been straight up as well, but I think that this one's probably going to pull back soon. I mean, hitting major movement averages like this on a weekly time frame is almost always going to at least get you a bit of a pullback. I mean, shit, how often do you even test a 200 moving average on the weekly? Very, 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 very rarely. So anytime I see something like that, you know, kind of have to be expecting a bit of an opposite move. But hey, doesn't mean that the overall move is over. Just, you know, a pullback into yet again another higher low and then upwards and onwards. I was also looking at the euro dollar earlier today as well. And euro dollar really looks to me like it's putting in a major high right now, a major swing high on the higher term time frames. Again, this is not relevant if you're on the lower term time frames, but you know, just like we spoke about the weekly 200 simple, this is the monthly 200 simple. It gets tested even less frequently than the weekly, obviously. I mean, shit, the last time we saw it officially tested was really back here in February of 2018. Before that, I mean, just a few tests in the past couple of decades. And ultimately, this would make a really good lower high, or at least a pullback, like a decent pullback for the euro dollar, which very likely implies that Dixie, the dollar index, is going to be going up, because realistically, the dollar index is more or less an inverse chart of this. Yes, that's not exactly 100% true, but because the euro dollar, or the euro, makes such a big portion of that basket, you know, it's going to have a massive influence on that. So ultimately, this one, you know, very likely pulls back. I do think that we've seen a major high right here, and I do think that in the next quarter, maybe 2 quarters, if we fast forward about 6 months from now, this one's probably a lot lower. Which, if you are trying to go on vacation to Europe, I mean, that's probably a good idea. If you're not, then, well, you're fucked. If you're trying to do the opposite, well, you're fucked, as usual. Europors get fucked no matter which way we go. I mean, shit, man, it doesn't even matter if this thing goes up anyways. Just Europor. I mean, it really is Europor. Did you know that only 10% of Europe even has an air conditioner in their apartment? And you're probably gonna say, but Crown, it's really cold there. Yeah, no shit, it is cold, but it does get pretty fucking hot in the summer too. I can tell you that. And air conditioners are really, really nice. In America, I think it's 90%. 90% of people have air conditioners in their apartment or in their home or something of that sort. I mean, it's basically, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, every place that I ever lived in ever had air conditioners, except for the places that I lived in college. But, you know, those were just absolute fucking dumps. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Like, looking back on it, I'm surprised I didn't catch some sort of a disease like AIDS from living in those places. I mean, shit, man. We had a trash can that was a communal trash can, and that thing got empty like maybe once every 2 weeks at best. And there's like fucking 50 guys living in a house just dumping shit into that stuff every day. It was a mountain. It was a fucking mountain of trash. I was getting sick just about every 2 months, man. It was great. Really, really good stuff. That's FUD, Crown. I install them for a living. You install them for a living? Well, business is probably not doing pretty well if you're in Europe. That's what I'm pretty sure about, man. Not only does it cost like double the price there, but also not very good appliances. I can tell you that as well. I mean, shit, man, they still got the garbage air conditioners that hang out of your window. Like, what is this? 1970s? You Europor deprived fucks? Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Have you heard of centralized AC? No, you haven't, because it's very old American technology, but unfortunately for Europe's, you won't be getting it for another, 20 years most likely. You guys are on a bit of a delay. It is what it is. It's called a lagging indicator. Anyways, Mariana says we do pay 15 USD per month on my energy bill. That is actually quite nice. We have 3 ACs, and my country is a shithole. Where you don't have to dox yourself, but like, whereabouts do you live? I'm genuinely curious. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Mr. Koran says, what about the drones in Denmark? Are you talking about the likely the Russian thing going on over there? Look, man, I study crypto and stock price action. I really don't know. I really don't know about it, honestly. If it wasn't, I mean, if I had to guess, That's right. I have to have an opinion on everything. That is true. We are on the internet after all. If I had to guess, with absolutely no recourse if I'm wrong, I would probably guess it's Russia, and I'd probably guess that they should do something, or they should, the allies should do something. Crazy idea, man. Yeah, just fucking shoot them down. Let's start World War III and let's fucking go. Russia's a paper tiger. Go fuck yourself if you believe otherwise. Stop listening to Qatari Carl Tuckerson. God damn, man. Like, is this guy could it not be more obvious that this guy has been paid by fucking Qatar, or just whatever sort of demoralizing agent is out there as opposed to the Western forces of this world? Anyways, that's a rant for another time, perhaps, maybe even never. But I do want to let you know I'm actually working on something that I'm really, really excited about because I'm a history nerd, and I've been working on a slideshow that I'll hopefully release this weekend. If I don't, it'll be next weekend. I just want to make sure that it's like quite good before I release it. But I've been studying all the historical cases over the past 2,500 years of major empires rising and falling. Because you've probably heard about the Fourth Tourney, you probably heard about Ray Dalio and talking about the rise and fall of empires, but you never hear the specifics of it. Like they never talk about the specifics of it, probably just to make it more relatable. But I'm that fucking nerd who wants to know the specifics of it, so I'm gonna learn the specifics of it, and then I'm gonna record a video on it, and then you're gonna fucking learn too. Well, you're gonna learn if you do watch it and actually pay attention. But yeah, I'm really excited about that because they are definitely right. Ray Dalio is 100% absolutely right in his analysis, but I just wanted to see like the minutia of it and the details in all of these rise and falls of prior empires. And probably one of the most interesting things to me is how long it takes. A lot of people make it sound like America's going to be on the verge of falling tomorrow. That's just not true. I mean, if you take historical presidents as worthwhile, it would be very early. It'd be very, very early. It'd be a bit of an outlier for America to fall, like even right now. I mean, shit, even in like the next 50 years would still be pretty fucking early. But yeah, that'll be there for you hopefully over the weekends. Like I said, if I finish it. But we need to make sure that it's top of the top. Anyways, indeed, man, indeed. Game for the stock crypto updates. Stay for the random rants. That's exactly right, man. That's what we do here. I'm in Chichester from Argentina. Oh, okay. So from Argentina. Okay, nice. Yeah. Well, Argentina's, they've had like a switch up in their whole economy, right? I'm genuinely curious, man. In Argentina, do people in are they kind of looking at the new president Milei and all of the changes that have happened? Are they looking at it positively, or are they looking at it negatively? Because from the news that I consume, it makes it sound like it's very, very positive, and like it's overwhelmingly positive, actually. I'm just curious, for someone who actually lives there, what is your opinion? Like, what is your actual opinion, ma'am? Hey, brother, when Fiboswani video, he's always free to come on the channel whenever he wants. I just let him text me and let me know when he has an update. But I imagine he probably doesn't have an update because, a lot of his stuff is very, very long-term focused. And so updates really don't come unless if it's been like 3 months away. And, last time we spoke to him was, I believe, last month. So I'd still wait another month or two before I really expect him to have any sort of real update because, just need to let time do what time does, which is go onwards and forwards, man. Anyways, yes, the autistic rages are always back, man. I'm massively autistic, but that is what it is, man. That's half of the fun. If I wasn't fucking autistic, I probably wouldn't enjoy looking at this shit as much as I do. I mean, for fuck's sake, man, I actually have a chart. I was calculating it the other day, or I was trying to calculate it the other day. I probably am looking at a chart of some sort in some way, at least 10 to 12 hours of the day, of the waking hours. I at least have it up on a screen that I'm, probably passively looking at, at worst, or actively looking at it at best. Sometimes I even look on my phone as well. So if I've been doing that for like 15 plus years at this point, I mean, how many hours even is that? That's too many. It's too damn many, man. Too damn many. Fido's a good guy. You mean Fibbo? America has 300 years left or so. Don't hold your breath. Yeah, I mean, that would actually be closer to the average. For example, people like to draw parallels with Rome, ancient Rome, the rise and fall. But what they don't maybe mention, or maybe they just don't know, is that from the time that Rome was at its height and started to devalue its currency and started to, I guess, head on to the first path of descent to the actual time of Rome being completely irrelevant and being more or less taken over, that was almost a 500-year period. That was a long time. That was a very long time. But it did happen. And of course, the 500 years before that, they were more or less on the rise and mostly in their prime. So they were in their prime realistically for probably about 500 years, honestly. And then about 250 years of like serious decline. So, it takes time. It really does take time. But that was Rome. That was a long time ago. Maybe with technological advances, that whole timeline does get sped up. It's very possible. I'm very much open to that. Of course, the UK, which was the most recent world power that went through the rise and fall, they were much less than that, around 100 years. But still, I mean, that would still be more than what America's actually really experienced at this point anyways, to be fair. And even then, when the UK has more or less fallen off of the pedestal of being the world #1 superpower, they haven't really gone into irrelevancy, as you can see. I mean, yes, they're probably on a decline, or they're still very likely on a decline. At least from what I read on the internet, man, it looks fucking bad. And I know a lot of English people. They're really, really good people. And they almost always inevitably say the same thing. Don't fucking come here. It's really bad. They really do say that. I've yet to meet an English person who's like, yeah, man, things are fucking great right now. We're on the up and up. They'll say something like, yeah, definitely visit to see the historical stuff because I love that. But you don't want to live here or anything like that. Things are really fucking bad right now. So fair enough, man. Hey, feel free to disagree with me because you'd be the first person that I've met from England if you do disagree. And again, I'm completely open to that. But I mean, like I said, I know lots of English people, and anytime I meet someone from England, I ask them the same thing, and it is literally the same answer every fucking time, man. It's really crazy. Genghis Khan at Turk. Yeah, we actually will go over a little bit of the Turkish Empire. I'll go over the not just the Roman Empire, but also the Persian Empire, the ancient Greece Empire, and then of course everything that was in more recent times over the past 2,000 years. But they really do actually follow a very similar path, and the timing of it is also pretty similar too. So I thought that was super interesting, man. Anyways, hopefully people think that that's interesting as well. Anyways, Arib says, I'm from London, and I'll tell you now, do not live here. Yeah. USA. Man, Elsa was fucking screaming USA the last weekend. It was great, man. She was experiencing a beautiful national anthem at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, and it was honestly a really cool time. Really cool time. Brian N says, I got robbed in London and heard many say it's normal nowadays. Yeah, that's what I hear very commonly as well. I've never actually spent any real time in England or London for that matter, just been to their airport. But even then, man, I was like, this feels not like I'm in Europe. That's how it felt, man. Anyways, I'll take a few more sips of this, then we'll get into some actual analysis here. Just continuing with the long-term thread of this analysis, really. Getting close. AM says UK is stronger than ever because they are more diverse than ever. Fair enough, but one thing that's actually okay. So I'm not saying this from the left side of the political spectrum or the right side of the political spectrum perspectives. I will say it is a literal fact that one of the most common thread in all prior world #1 empires for the last 2,500 years, maybe even more than that. Actually, it does go a little bit more than that. So let's say 3,000 years. Let's say 3,000 years. We go back to like Mesopotamia. You know what the fuck I'm trying to say. Anyways, the greatest thread on all of those empires in their rise to prominence was unity, not diversity. It was unity, not diversity. Again, I'm not saying this as like a person on the left side or the right side. This is just a literal fucking fact when you actually study the history. It was unity, not diversity, that brought them to their height. And what is also very common, but not in every case, but very, very common in the descent is disunity, or you might read that as diversity. Now, again, I'm not saying that with any political persuasion. I'm just analyzing a historical fact. It's really hard to get around that once you actually see the data, once you actually see, what was going on during these times. That's what's kind of turned me on to that. But yeah, man, it's it's about as fucking in your face as it gets there. It is just what it is. It is a really strange thing though, man. People say diversity is our strength. I think diversity of thought is probably is a strength, but I would think unity is, just makes more sense that it is a strength. You want your country to be unified. You want people to basically be, more or less proud to be from your country. Why else would you even try to progress if you just thought that your country was a complete piece piece of shit, you know? I mean, of course not. You know, you're not going to bother. Why would you do that? That would be a bad thing to do, and you don't want to be a bad person. So for fuck's sake, man, I just don't understand what the whole, you know, what the whole focus on that is to begin with. It seems like it would be massively counterproductive. But yeah, man, maybe I'm wrong on it. Who knows? Who says an empire is a good thing? It's great to live in the empire. I mean, so yeah, and you're always going to have an empire. So who says an empire is a good thing? That's a silly statement to make. It's not that it's good or bad. It's always going to be. Always there's going to be a country that wants to be number one. Why? Because there are major benefits with being the number one world power. Fucking obviously. And it's just human nature. For the love of God. Do you not understand this? Are you fucking redacted? Of course, it's human nature to want to be number one. Everyone wants to be king of the hill. And even if you don't want to be king of the hill, you still logically need to try to be the king of the hill, because someone else is going to try to be king of the hill. And it might be a fucking communist dictatorship that would be really fucking bad if they were number one. So you might as well fucking try anyways, because you don't want to be under their rule, or at least you'd rather not be under their rule. So yeah, man, I think that's a very, very low quality argument to be making against that, man. But taken to extreme, it starts becoming too nationalistic and less welcoming to other nations. Sure, but I don't think that that's the case in America, at least. Is it unwelcoming to other nations? I mean, for fuck's sake, man. I could not possibly say that is my experience here. I could not possibly look at that as my experience here. And shit, man, else is new here. I mean, how do you feel? Do you feel like people are nice to you or not? Very nice, very nice. But then again, she's just a visitor. Anyways, yeah, so let's get into some actual price action analysis here. Let's look at some Bitcoin daily statistics. As always, Friday is, you know, a little bit weighted in favor of positive closures versus negative closures. But I'm actually very, very interested in these average returns for both sides, because I do suspect that one of these sides will get hit today. And just as we have seen over the past, I mean, many moons now, it's very likely going to be a nice little scalp opportunity for you short-term traders out there to the downside that give us a nice little range boundary, more or less around Bitcoin's low for September. That would be 107 and 250 or so, if you want to be super exact. To the upside, if you do get a little bit of a bounce, 111, 350 would be a nice little boundary. Again, on the first pass, you almost always invariably see a bit of a interaction around that region, meaning, you know, you probably can do a bit of a scalpable trade. So if you're on the short-term time frames, always something to be aware of. This is, of course, the historical price action statistics indicator. You can find it in the link description below for Caretaker's indicator suite and Teachable. And you can also try it out for 7 days free, as always. Pretty much you can do that with all of our indicator offerings. On top of that, if I can go back to my notes over here, which actually for some reason I've hidden from myself. Yeah, I want to go back to this chart. So this is a chart that we've been referencing, you know, every couple weeks just to kind of keep an eye on it. And it has been really, really useful over the past couple years here for kind of judging when Bitcoin is more or less likely to experience a more prolonged sideways consolidation, sideways and down. And that's the Tether dominance chart. And the Tether dominance chart has once again bottomed in the exact same area that we've seen producing the major consolidation throughout actually the first portion of 2025. So, you know, that was more or less, you know, I guess the, you know, the beginning portion of 2025 until the summer. So that was like what, a 4 to 5 month long consolidation, sideways and down. And then same thing over here in March of 2024. This one again bouncing off of that same region. We do expect this to play more or less inverse of of crypto prices, particularly Bitcoin as well. And this one also, you know, produced that major sideways and downside range throughout the majority of 2024. So once again, Bitcoin has actually, or not Bitcoin, Tether dominance has dipped down into this region and is bouncing from it. So, you know, do have to maintain a bit of a bias towards overall downside for crypto. And what's also very, very critical here is the fact that we do see, or if you are looking at this as a pattern, you would see that there is an inverted herp and derp here with your left herp, your derp, and then your right herp over here. And this one's actually being resolved as of right now, as of this current 5-day period, which ends actually tomorrow. If you are a little bit more of an aggressive breakout trader, you'd be looking at the neckline as already broken because you got to trade above. If you do want to be a little more conservative, you'd be looking for a more or less closure above this number at 461. It's not impossible that we don't see it come back down below there in, by tomorrow night's closure. But I would be looking at this as very likely to lead upwards and onwards. Again, we see momentum oscillators across all of the higher term timeframes suggesting upside is the more likely direction. That's the 5-day. Here's the 8-day. Looks like TradingView is going to take its sweet, sweet, sweet time in loading again today as well. Let me make sure. Do I have my VPN on? No, I do not. Okay, so beautiful there. That would be very, very bad. And apparently also still loading. There we go. Yeah, this one also heading up as well. 10-day 10-day time frame is very likely also going to be popping up here too. So it's very difficult to maintain, an upwards bias on Bitcoin for anything more than just short-term, short-term bounces. As long as this is going on, the best case scenario is that these charts just don't load, so I can't look at them, which makes me more and more bearish. But 10-day time frame, yeah, also heading up. And then we got the 2-week time frame actually finishing later tonight as well for CME. Obviously, spot price action will close on Sunday, but the 2-week time frame is also going to be headed in that same direction, assuming that we can actually load it, which is, it's going to freshly cross up here for the first time since January of this year. If this one finishes above 455, right now trading at 470. So I would say that that's looking pretty likely. Again, if you want to play things by the book, you'd have to wait until Sunday's closure, but I'd look at this as very, very likely, especially considering that this bi-weekly time frame right here, as of right now, is also operating on what would be one massive bullish engulfing dildo. So that to me does say that, hey, you got a reversal. You're also coming off of a major moving average, also same areas that we've seen all these bottoms come in from. So, again, you kind of have to maintain an upwards bias on this, at least from my perspective as of right now. On top of all of this, I do want to get into, of course, the bi-weekly closure for CME, which is going to be closing later today. This one is almost going to be, is potentially going to be a bearish engulfing dildo if Bitcoin does finish the day anywhere below 108, about 108 for CME, which, I guess kind of still a little bit further away. So perhaps not a death sentence just yet. But if Bitcoin does close below 108, that would be the next, I guess, most obvious signal that, hey, Bitcoin is going to be heading down. I think at least 100,000 bucks at that point. Potential for a little bit lower. Maybe it plays out what would be with this one massive rising channel here. The bottom end of that is very low 90s as of right now. But of course, I want to take this one step at a time. Don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, or at least I wouldn't want to get too ahead of myself because that's something that I've done poorly in the past. So ultimately, on top of this, we can also go ahead and look at the bi-weekly for CME here. If we actually go to CME, that'll probably be a little bit better. Again, this one's finishing tonight, and assuming that it finishes something like this, if we can actually load this damn indicator, there we go, it actually will have a chance to close below the median. The median is 109,800, so it wouldn't necessarily be a bearish engulfing at that point, but just even closing below there, I think would probably be bad enough, honestly. And yes, the bottom end of the 38.2 level becomes more or less an area of interest over time, probably not the next couple weeks, but over time, maybe it takes a month, maybe it takes 2 months, with Bitcoin very likely reconnecting somewhere around there. On top of that, of course, we have gone over the quarterly, which is going to be closing relatively soon. And we do expect to reconnect with the 5 EMA on the quarterly, whether it's this quarter or next quarter at some point. I mean, obviously I understand next quarter being 3 months, could very well be like a big time spread on this. But I imagine that that's going to, crawl its way up to somewhere around 97,000 bucks by the next quarter open. But that would still imply that, Bitcoin does have areas of interest down there. And even when I look at the quarterly stochastic momentum oscillator, again, this one is not closing just yet, but it is really close to crossing to the downside for the first time since fucking January of 2022. And that would just require closure, again, by end of month here below 109,100. So, a lot of these things do maybe take on a more nasty turn later on. But I still want to see it, proven first and foremost and see where the next update is because, you never know. On top of this, we can go ahead and reference these same setups over here. These same setups being the 4-day setup, which has once again, it's not once again fired off, but it did initially fire off over here, the red and the yellow moving average crossing the downside of each other. It's actually happened yet again over here. I would say that this is a really, really, really high probability move now that we will see at least down to the green moving average. That is 105. That is 105. Again, probably not happening today, but maybe over the next week or two, very likely do make our way somewhere down around there for a minimum test, just as we have seen throughout the past 8 years of Bitcoin nearly perfectly. Again, using the Quant Prime service to backtest this one over here, just get these results really, really quickly. We can see that, again, that's happened, not nearly every time. It's literally happened every time for the past 8 years perfectly. The question is just how long does it take? And in this case, this one's actually been one of the longest running ones. On top of this, the 5-day time frame is quite close to also firing off its similar signal here too. In fact, if Bitcoin does finish this next 5-day time frame basically here or lower by tomorrow night, I can imagine it is going to be a mathematical certainty that these two moving averages will indeed cross, again, the red and the yellow. And at that point, the green moving average becomes another minimum target. And that one is a little bit lower than the 4-day, being that it is a higher term time frame. That would be at about 102,500. Again, that would be a minimum target. We have seen it drop decently below that before. Again, this one's played out it has played out about perfectly for the past 8 years, similar to the 4-day as well. So you can see how, one time frame begets targets, which bleed into the next one, which bleed into the next one, which bleed into the next one. I call this the sort of domino effect. We've seen it actually first start on the 12-hour time frame that was back on over here. Then it went to the daily, then it went to 2-day, 3-day, 5-day, and perhaps it goes onwards and forwards from there as well. Again, for the people who have just blindly taken this setup, I do not think that this is a good trading setup. It is great for directional bias on YouTube when speaking to a general audience. But as far as a trading setup, looking for these two moving averages to cross and then targeting this move down here, I don't think would be a good or certainly not optimized trading strategy. I just use this for directional bias on YouTube when speaking to, just the higher term time frame, general trend and in direction here. And again, you can test these like pretty damn simply with this. But as you can see here, I mean, just, waiting for that to happen, this is not going to be a good strategy. You can see that like just with your plain eyes. We don't even need to look at the back tester. But ultimately, that does give a downwards bias. So for the people who are, for the influencers who are still, talking about fucking green dildos to the moon and beyond, this is the last dip before a rip. This is the last trap before the trap, before the trap, before the trap, before the trans trap. Well, good fucking luck with that. Good fucking luck with that. I don't see the same things. I'll put it that way. I don't see the same things. Let's go check out on the Revin redact bands as they've been. It's like it's taken on a name of its own. I should acknowledge that the Revin bands did hit their target to the downside. That was at 111.350. We called that one out a few days ago, I believe, at the beginning of this, of this week. And now it does seem to be in sort of a trend shifting or trend changing formation here, because this would have been the target if you expected it to be bullish, meaning that we really would have expected Bitcoin to bottom around like 111 at the worst. And instead, Bitcoin's obviously living well below there. So while there may be short-term bounces, and very likely are short-term bounces, I mean, shit, if you got a weekend bounce to 111, that would be fine. This does suggest, or at least give an early indication that, hey, yeah, things are really having a major change here, and we probably do see this one shift more to the downside. But we'll update on this one, as we get the new weekly, of course. I think that's when it'll probably have some more relevant information. But for right now, yeah, it is starting to switch around here. I do want to acknowledge as well. Other than that, I think we've covered just about everything. Oh, if I did want to bring up one last thing here too, just in confluence with that 5-day target to the green 55 EMA, we could also look at that as a bottom side of this channel retest from the price action pivots indicator right here. Price action pivots trendline extension kind of aligning almost directly with that exact moving average too. So you can imagine by the next closure, which again only starts tomorrow upon Saturday night's finish, that would be basically the exact same number actually. So, good confluence right there. Again, doesn't mean that it's going to get hit immediately. This can still take, it can still take a few weeks to realistically happen, but it does give the bias for just general price action down to that region. Now, at this point, is there anything that could make me change my mind? Of course, there's always an invalidation for anything. There is never a 100% certainty for any sort of a move ever, ever, ever. And in this case, it's actually really, really simple. In fact, this is the most simple way to get immediately very fucking gung-ho bullish on Bitcoin, just fucking bullish dildos flying all out of your mouths and face and all this sort of shit. And that would just simply be trading back above the September swing high right here. September the 18th, or more or less 118. It's a little bit below 118 to be fair. If Bitcoin can trade above there, especially close even a daily above there, I mean, that is the immediate signal that, hey, Bitcoin is not just going to retest all-time highs, it's probably going to make new all-time highs and continue on with this amazing market cycle. But I do think personally that we're in for a much more prolonged sideways and downside period before something like that does occur, which I actually do think will occur, but maybe later on, maybe near the end of this year or the beginning of 2026. I think that this is going to take some time to really shake itself out. So yeah, that's basically it for me as far as Bitcoin analysis goes right there. Tony Rosa says, close all your trades, hide your kids, hide your wives, maybe open some shorts. No, just kidding. Anyways, I'll get to the comments in just a moment. I just got one last sip. Now some water to wash it down. The old cold brews. Lord Crown, does Dixie have a W divergence? Did you just make up something? I don't think that's at least that's a term that I'm not familiar with. A W divergence. I don't know what you mean by that. Anyways, I'm going to get to the top of the super chats here. Elsa's already lined them up. We got Steven Schickman first. As always, he's looking at Dogecoin. He asks, Any bullish divergences? Well, we identified bearish divergence last couple times we looked at it. Is there any bullish divergence? Well, let me put on my hopium goggles right now. Could there be bullish divergence on this? No, still that bearish divergence right there. In fact, the minimum target has been hit to the 21. Okay. Maybe we'll go down to a daily. Gonna have to really go deep into the fucking what if drawer in order to give you some hopium, I think, for this one. But whenever I do something like that, I feel like I feel like I'm trying to create a narrative for you rather than just giving you the actual analysis. But, is there potential for hidden bullish divergence here? Like, kind of, in a way, just because your RSI is so much lower than your lows from early September. So that would be this low versus potentially this low. But again, man, I'll just shoot you 100% straight. I don't think it's going to play out like that. I really don't think it's going to play out like that. Look, my major issue with this is exactly as we've been stating for the past couple weeks. Yes, as long as it's above the monthly red 5 EMA, you can have some hope. And it still actually is. But to see things sell off this much into the end of the month, I really don't look at it as a good sign. Technically speaking, though, yeah, you'd want to see this thing below about 21 cents before it officially destroys itself, for losing that last bit of hopium right there. Do I think that that's, more or less very, very likely to happen? I do think that is very likely to happen. But if you are going to bottom, I would say literally bounce now or I cut it off. Or bounce now or I cut it off, that meme. Because this would be like the last chance for love, in my opinion. Anywhere really below, much lower, especially below 21 cents. I mean, for fuck's sake, man, it's like, I can give you the hopium. I just think it's so fucking unlikely to play out that I feel really bad about it. But hey, if I do have these rules for a reason, it is still technically above that number as of right now. But really, I mean, seriously, man, you'd really expect it to start to bounce right here, literally no longer lower than where it's at right now. And even then, I feel like I'm just, really trying to like squint my eyes and make up a bullish narrative for you. Yeah, there will be bounces along the way as this one does go down. But this is bad. This is bad. It's quite literally bad. So yeah, I guess I'll leave it right there. Is there any bullish divergence? Technically, no. Right now, there is potential for hidden bullish divergence on a daily. I've serious doubts that would play out personally. But I don't know. Do you get a short-term bounce here? Probably. I mean, wouldn't take too much, really. But I don't think that that's relevant to you because you're usually asking about higher-term timeframes. Miss Muradova. I'm gonna call you Miss Muradova. That's a lot. Your last name is a lot easier to say. Sorry. Can you check out ETHFI, please? I'm in a short from 160. Where to TP 1 and 2? Why do you think I'm going to give you target points for something like, I don't even fucking know what the hell you're trying to do with this. And also, that's financial advice. Like, you cannot do guys, I can't legally give out financial advice. Not that I even would have good financial advice for you to begin with off of just, 2 sentences on a YouTube comment. I can give you an opinion on this chart. This would, honestly, this wouldn't be the one that I really want to short just because, it's holding up, decently in the short term compared to most things, which are already making new lows. This thing not. But still, you basically shorted the high over here. I think that that's a great position. Where would I target? I think that you're going to come down at least a little bit lower. But honestly, this would not be the one that I want to short just because it has actually showed relative strength compared to most things, which are already down around their lows. Usually want to short the weakest things, not the more strong ones. And in this case here, honestly, this one, you can make a pretty good case that it might just come down to 135 and then bounce back up. As long as you're above that September 22nd low, which is 122, this looks more like a continuation play rather than a reversal play, especially when you compare it with most cryptos, which are showing weakness. Compare this with Ethereum. This would be a much better short because it's actually breaking down. That last one has not started to really break down just yet. Maybe it does later on, but ultimately, if it's showing relative strength now, you could probably bet it's not going to be as big of a breakdown as the things that are already showing weakness. The weak get weaker and the strong get stronger, typically speaking. And that one doesn't look as bad, certainly, as even something like Ethereum, for example, which isn't even like the worst of the fucking bunch to begin with. But yeah, I would say as long as you're above that 122 number, that one very well may head upwards and onwards. It's probably unlikely if most other things come down, but I probably wouldn't be holding my breath for that one, to be honest. Anyways, where can it reverse? If it wants to remain bullish, it'd reverse like pretty much right exactly where it's at right now, in fact. So if you don't see it really continue to the upside, I suppose, in the next like 5 days, then I think you're probably going to be on the right side of that trade. But, you know, the next 5 days, if it's actually going to continue, that would be the time frame for that, most likely. Nishant says, DELTACORP on the daily looks like shit, but the support line on the monthly. The support line on the monthly. Is it support on the price action pivots indicator? If it's not, I do not care. Sir, no. Fuck no. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? No, 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 no. Look, if you want to play, oh my fucking God. Like, look at the quarterly, man. Bro, it's at the lows. It's definitely going to be good. No, like going back down to your prior macro lows is never a good sign. Ever, ever, ever. Can you get bounces? Sure. Yeah, hell yeah. If you're gonna buy and hold for a year, do you start a bounce from this area? I think you're more likely to start a bounce from your 2020 low, to be honest. There is not a monthly support here line. Or, for fuck's sake, man. Okay, this is where the price action pivots indicator can really help you out. Look, price action pivots is showing a magical line right here. That's 155. Why is it showing a magical line right there? Because that's how fucking bearish you are. That's how fucking bad things are. And that's also your last low or high. Look, getting back down to this low over here doesn't mean shit. If you got back down to this low over here that produced a nice rally, okay, yeah, now you probably got a nice bounce. Would I call it bullish? I don't know about that, but I'd definitely be looking for a big bad bounce. Trying to play for a bounce over here off of this low, I think is just... I think you're playing the game on hard mode with the probabilities against you. I'm not saying that it's impossible for it to bounce, but for fuck's sake, after a rejection like this earlier in this month and with the quarterly looking like this, you know, a couple days into the closure, I just don't think that's going to be happening, man. I think it's coming down here. I think it's coming down here, and then you'll probably get a pretty nice bounce from this region. Will it be a major macro reversal? That's a good question that I have no answer towards, but it should be a good bounce. John Dude says, after 2 years, you're convinced me to give up shitcoins. Thanks. Well, I'm not really trying to convince anyone of anything. I'm just trying to show you the results with, you know, with real numbers and real examples. I mean, I've been more or less saying the same shit about shitcoins since I started this channel back in 2017. Or was it 28? No, sorry, it was 2018 where I started this channel. You know, holding shitcoins long term, basically anything that's not named Bitcoin, and to maybe a slightly lesser extent Ethereum, and even lesser extent XRP, and maybe that's not even so much true anymore. But you can just expect negative returns, you know, the longer that you hold them. Almost none of them survive long term. It's just, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I understand that they're very, very, very seductive with the amazing amount of volatility that they offer, but volatility cuts both ways. And, you know, the reason why they have that volatility is because they just don't have liquidity, which is because no one's fucking traded them. So like, if you actually need to, you know, sell, you might not be able to do it at the price that you are are looking at on your screen, depending upon how big your position is, you know. So it's like, no matter which way you cut it, I just don't see it as a viable option long term. I really don't know of. I'm sure that there's at least a few people out there who've made shit tons of money in shitcoins and kept that money, and hopefully just left after that point and continued to keep it, but. You really don't hear too many stories like that. Or you might hear like a story about someone, you know, striking it big on a shitcoin, right? But then, you know, what do? They go and diversify into other shitcoins. And it's like, well, there goes the gains, I guess. So fair enough. John Dude's back. He's looking at ACHR stock weekly and 3 month. Okay, nice. So very, very high term time frames here. ACHR, Archer Aviation. Okay, sounds like a cool name. And long term. Not the best chart, not the worst chart, but at least it's been rallying throughout the past couple of years here. So it's participating in the bull market, just not as good as other things. Anyways, you're looking at a weekly. Weekly, I look at this as a base, basically back around your September lows. You know, it might come back down around there a couple more times. I think that's fine overall. But you got higher lows, you know, for all that it matters, as long as you're above this April low right here. So, you know, if it does follow this channel a little bit further to the downside, that's fine. I don't look at that. That is terrible. Monthly, I think that this is overall okay, assuming that it does close anywhere here or higher by end of month, just especially above about $9.50. That would, you know, that's my long-term, like, hey, it's fine. It's just going to take its time, I suspect. Quarterly time frame, not really getting too much from this chart, to be honest, man. You know, what I notice here is that you've already retested more or less your IPO and you've sold off from that. You've been consolidating around that high, and that's to be expected. I think it's just going to take more time to consolidate around here, and then maybe late Q4 it does try another upside move. The only way to really get bearish on this thing is if you're back down below this low, which is not that helpful, unfortunately, because it's so fucking far away. Maybe could make an earlier decision below like 7.25. Below 7.25, it's probably going to fall apart if it were to reach there. But for right now, I'd give it it's a nice uptrend, right? Got higher highs and higher lows. Probably shouldn't complicate any more than that. If it can finish this month above $9.50, I think that would again set the set the favor towards the upside overall. I just think it takes time. Is it fuck or not? I think it's likely fuck. I just think it's not like a big fuck. It's just like a little small fuck, right? There are things that are significantly more stronger. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make. Chris Fellow says, take a look at RGTI daily weekly. Sure. RGTI. Rigetti Computing. Cool name. Never seen it before. And this would be an example of something that's stronger. It's actually above its IPO dump, which is good. That is usually a really, really strong blue sky breakout signal. And more or less, this one is kind of the opposite of cryptos right now. It's rallying into the end of the month rather than falling into the end of the month. That is, of course, strength. And being that it's already at new all-time highs, I mean, for fuck's sake, man, like, I'm not going to have targets for you or anything like that because it's, it's basically in blue sky breakout mode. But I don't think it's topped. I'll put it that way. I don't think it's topped at all just yet. In fact, this thing probably continues over the long period, a long time. Yeah, you're going to get your pullbacks here and there. Of course, you're going to have some bearish divergence to work off of relatively soon, but that's still a higher low. And, if it came down to $22 and retested the prior highs, that's fine. That's just textbook shit, man. So while I do think you probably have a daily pullback in early October, I think it's just going to be a higher low, man. Like, this is bullet. I'm not bearish on something that looks like this. This is fucking good. The only way I'd reconsider my thought is if by the end of this month you're actually below $22. If you see something like that, okay, yeah, maybe something else going on. This could be a massive fake out, but it's well above $22. In fact, it's like 30% above. I mean, that's not bad. John Dude's back. He says, SERV on NASDAQ, 1 and 3 month view. Whack or not? Should I whack it or not? Should I masturbate my Pinot or not? Oh, I almost typed in USD. I'm so conditioned to cryptos, but it's like this community is now gravitating towards stonks, which is pretty cool. I'm also gravitating towards stonks myself. Yeah, as far as this one goes, not as interesting as your last one. It's just kind of weird charts here, especially considering that, the strong things have rallied significantly off of their April lows. This thing actually, to be fair, actually has more than doubled off its April lows. Okay, maybe I take that point back. Let's go to a monthly time frame. Not a ton of information here on a monthly, but the way that I'd read this is that overall it likely is bullish, and I'd run with a bullish bias as long as you're very specifically above your August low. Below 887 is where I get massively fucking bearish on this thing. But until then, just let it float up and to the right. I think that's okay. It's just not the strongest one, of course, but it ain't bad. It ain't bad. Again, big pivot on the August low right there. Below there, just fucking send it down to Goblin Town or whatever the hell it goes. But for right now, it's okay. Anyways, Go With Boris says, what's up, man? Can we discuss Hemi? Yeah, we can discuss Hemi. I don't know anything about it. This one's a new one for me. Hemi, really fucking good, at least on the monthly. On the daily, are we putting in a swing high right here? Probably yes. Problem is, it's a very new thing with a little bit under a month left, a month of history. So maybe I go down to like a 6-hour time frame. I'm sure it's working off of some extremes right here. It's probably going to take a while to load up. So I'll take this moment to take a sip of this water. Let's see what we got. Yeah, in the short term, it might try a short-term bounce here. If it did, maybe somewhere around 14.5 to 15 cents. But I think that this one's actually hit a high for a little while. So yeah, probably does try to bounce right here. But I do think that this one's hit like a pretty significant high. The reason why I say that is because you do have double extremes over here on BBWP. Yes, it is a lower term time frame. Yes, it is relatively new. So maybe it doesn't take that long to work off these extreme conditions. But I think, after this bounce, it will spend some time going sideways and down. Long term, I actually wouldn't be bearish on it unless if it takes out this low here at 7.5 tenths of a cent. It's pretty far away, to be fair. So, it could easily look something like this, bounce here, boom, come down, sets in a higher low, and then works its way sideways and up. That's possible for sure. But below this low right here, I get really fucking bearish. Again, very, very new, so it's like hard to do any real analysis on these sort of things. But, there are a few signals here to be fair. So at least there's that. Kenneth says, is it over for IREN? Possible correction bounce for correct bounce levels. Possible correct bounce levels. Give me now. IREN now. All right. Is this thing done? I think it's hit a swing high right here. It did also hit the 3 Fibonacci extension as well. And we are seeing major drives of bearish divergence here as well. So, has this one hit a major high for a while? Probably, yeah. Long term, is this bearish? No, but it can come down a lot. Yeah, I mean, this weekly really looks like it's a nice top. Shit, man, this thing could come down to like fucking $25, which is a tremendously nasty move from where it's at right now. And it'd still technically be a higher low on the weekly. I mean, shit, your last weekly higher low was all the way down here at 15. So, while I do think this is going to be a high for a while, you come down, you probably spend some time bouncing. I think somewhere around here, you have a chance to put in a higher low, and you'd really want to see a bounce around that region. So that'd be kind of like my possible correct bounce levels. That's what I'd be looking towards. First one, you're probably going to get a bounce around $35.50. Is that going to be the next higher low? I think it's a low probability area, but yeah, you at least get a bounce there, I'm sure. Or I shouldn't say that I'm sure, but I feel quite confident about that. Below there, I'd be looking for a bounce somewhere around about 27.5-ish, somewhere around there. Those would be my major areas for bounces, at least. Again, not calling reversal back to new all-time highs, but just bounces, Then I want to see it again. What's up, Mr. RN? He says, or Aaron, sorry, man. Lord Crown, does Dixie have a W divergence? I really don't know what a W divergence is. I don't know what you mean by that, to be honest. Is there? I guess we can just look at for like normal bullish divergence. I don't know if that's exactly what you're looking for. Problem with looking for normal bullish divergence is that technically this is not a lower low here, but Caretaker's RSI in all of its beauty is actually looking at this as a phantom drive of divergence, which does typically work out. And we've had several drives of bullish divergence on the last few lows anyways. So I would probably look at this as bullish divergence for the fourth drive in this case, which is, again, going to help round out my bias that Dixie is going to be going up for a while the euro dollar goes down. Now, if there's one thing, okay, not one thing, but if there is something that I don't trust technical analysis on that much, or at least it's very much event driven, it would be Dixie for sure. But in this case, if you're looking at just straight up TA, yeah, I think that there's good reason to believe that this thing is going to put in, a greater bounce here. Maybe not a full on reversal, but a greater bounce. I mean, shit, man, this could rally up all the way to fucking $101. Doesn't really do all that much for the higher term timeframes. I mean, shit, man, this one, yeah, I do think it's going to rally from here, basically. You're also coming off some major moving averages, like the monthly 3.7. I mean, shit, man, how often does that happen? Almost never. Yeah, I think you're in a bounce mode for a while now. This thing was basically straight down since, January of this year. Okay, I think it's time to spend, a few months, if not more, bouncing, hopefully putting in a lower high for the asset holders out there in the world, but yeah, it should be painful in the short term. But then again, as I always say, it's fun to look at stuff like this, Dixie. But as always, what matters most is whatever your favorite shitcoin chart or just asset chart looks like versus the US dollar rather than the Dixie chart. That's going to always take precedence over the Dixie chart. Dixie chart's more or less just fun for nerds and herpity derps on the internet to talk about to sound like they're smarter than they actually are. Anyways, Living the Adventure says, any chance XRP has a reversal late Q4? I mean, there's always a chance, man. There's always a chance. It's just, is it a low probability chance or a high probability chance? Look, my one major thing for this one is that it needs to remain basically above that last month's low, which is 272. It is right there at this moment, especially just coming in red at the end of this month as well, assuming that it finishes some like this or even a little bit lower. Is there a potential for a reversal in late Q4? Yeah, for sure. But for fuck's sake, man, like I think let's let it play out a little bit of the downside first. let's wait for signals of a reversal first. That's how I like to do it. But is it possible? Sure. I mean, that kind of line up with what I think for Bitcoin. I think if Bitcoin is going to continue this cycle, it's going to happen late in this quarter, late in Q4, or maybe very early 2026. So XRP would probably follow the same time schedule, right? But as of right now, this thing, I think you're doing the same shit as Bitcoin. You're going to be entering into prolonged sideways and down, that might last that might last, 2 to 3 months. Very possible. Very possible. Aaron's back. He's looking at Tether dominant. Oh, it's like you read my mind, man. Yeah, it is. Is it scary on the weekly? I mean, it depends what side of the market you're on, of course, but do I think that this one goes higher? I think that's the implication here. Yeah, we kind of went over this earlier as well. Also, if you're looking at this from the price action pivots indicator, it's actually plotting this as a falling pizza, and this falling pizza is also simultaneously getting resolved here too on the weekly. So that would have a technical target actually quite higher, a little bit above 5%. So no matter which way I cut this one, we're getting a lot more signals of this thing very likely heading up rather than reversing here. So fair enough. Just something to be aware of, I suppose. I think kind of best case scenario, what I think is likely to happen here is you get a rally like this for a while and then hopefully rejection like right here and then back down. That would be really nice. Now, just because it's really nice, does that mean it's going to happen? I don't fucking know. I mean, probably not. What I'm trying to say is that doesn't matter, what I think. But I think that would be kind of the bullish interpretation of this is like, yeah, you do spend some time going higher. Ultimately, it's a lower high than these two highs right here and here. And then, you have one more major move to the downside. That's probably going to be the cycle high. And then, let's get down to Goblin Town, I guess. Pizza says, GM Crown, can you please check out XRP? We kind of just did that, but I guess we can go back and maybe go to the lower term timeframes relative to what we were looking at. Daily time frame is actually shaping up to be still a descending triangle right here. And, I'm not like so beholden to these patterns, but what I would definitely say is that, hey, as long as you're below the 17th of September's high at 315, I look at this as valid. I look at this as generally bearish in the short term. And while in the very short term, you probably bounce off of this level yet again, might even bounce all the way up to like $3 again. I mean, which was actually our bounce target earlier this week, which had actually played out earlier this week as well on Tuesday. Whatever bounce you get on this next one would be like your traditional bounce before an actual breakdown. I mean, usually it's 3 strikes and you're out. This would be strike number 4 over here, or also on the lows as well. And even this would have a measure move, I'd guess somewhere down around like 240-ish region, something like that, man. Overall, I think XRP is heading lower. Maybe very, very short-term bounce. Very, very short-term, you might get a bounce. But as long as you're below 315, I just look at this thing as significantly likely to trade deep inside the $2 numbers here. And similar to Bitcoin, I would be very happy to change my opinion on it immediately, and get very bullish on this thing. If you even just trade it back above your September high of 315, above there, yeah, this thing starts to look really fucking good. But until then, man, I think that you're in a corrective period here. You're about to get this cross to the downside soon as well. Although it's not there, so I shouldn't say that. Probably not front runnable. And this one's already happened and already hit the target, so give it a chance to bounce first. If it's going to break down, I imagine that would be like a next week thing. That's a problem in the future, not right now. Here for a good time says morning from Dallas. Good morning to you, ma'am. UEC daily weekly stonk. Thank you for specifying a stonk. This is good, man. We got a whole stonk community now. Uranium. Okay, so this is a commodity. Let me actually take another sip of this water. Okay, so you've given some context. You say you've been in it since about $7, so you are nearly 2x up. That is amazing. Amazing trade right there. Amazing investment, whatever the hell you're doing it as. I think this one's going higher, man, to be honest. You got a narrative play on your hand. You also have a blue sky breakout on your hand. You have a fresh breakout as well as of August, and this is just continuation. So, you're going to get pullbacks along the way, obviously. I mean, shit, it might pull back from here in the short term, maybe even down to like $10 again. It's very possible, but that's still a higher low. So, I'd generally be bullish on this thing as long as you're about $9.50. And, closing a quarterly sum like this, it's very possible it might come down to like $10, but I'd be bullish on this thing, man. This is a bullish chart. This is something that I'd want to hold, not fold. Now, maybe consider taking some partial profits. Hey, I mean, shit, man. You're in a 2x move right there. That's not a bad thing to do, obviously. But if you're asking my opinion of whether this chart goes higher or lower in the next few months, I think it's going higher, man. I think it's going higher with with dips along the way. Cloud the Busy says Russell 2000 weekly, please. All right, let's check this one out. This one was looking really good over the last few months. Let's see if it's still following through and stalling at that prior high. It's not where you want to see it stall, but it's not a death sentence or anything like this. It's very common to pull back after retesting a major high. So I wouldn't say that this is like bad or anything like that just yet. In fact, it's not bad, in my opinion, at all. I think you're just probably going to pull back a little bit more before the real breakout attempt. Now, if I'm wrong, I will be disastrously wrong. I will be so disastrously wrong that it will be very embarrassing, because being wrong on the internet is always embarrassing, no matter what. But what I can tell you is that, in the short term, do I think it pulls back? Yes. Do I think it pulls back maybe even all the way to 23.30? Yeah, very possible, man. But I would still be looking at that as a higher low as long as you're above, very specifically, 22.50. 22.50. I'd kind of maintain a bullish bias. But I do think you're going to pull back more from here. But I would still be biased towards this thing likely trying a real breakout in next quarter, sometime next quarter. Sorry, let me get to the water again. All right, we got Gallo next. What's up, Mr. Gallo? XLMO is playing deep inside the shitcoin drawer again. Still haven't learned the lesson, but that's okay. That's okay. There's always time. There's always time. Is there an implied move down to 22? At least you're on the right side of this thing. I mean, for fuck's sake. Nice. Nicely done, man. Yeah, you got a beautiful downturn right here. High, low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Oh, same lows. Bias has to be towards further downside. Target towards 22 cents. I'm curious okay, so you're looking at this as a descending triangle. It doesn't really fit the bill for like a traditional descending triangle, but look, you're playing the trend here. I think that that's fine in and of itself. Do I think you're also going to get a bounce kind of where you're at right now? Probably a bounce attempt, yeah. But, if I'm looking for this thing to break down, my next real target would be about 29 to 30 cents, which I know is nowhere near 22 cents. Yeah, even then, I mean, look, what I could say about this thing is if you're going to break down the next, okay, it wouldn't necessarily be 29 or 30 cents as a target. It's going to go low if it gets there to begin with. I'd be looking around 25.5 cents, somewhere down around here. And even then, you're probably going to bounce and then fail it there if that even happens to begin with. It's kind of hard not to see that. But for right now, man, I'd give this thing a chance to bounce. Like it's very likely to try at least a short-term bounce here. I don't know where you shorted it from, but I would be looking at this as the next, as the obvious pivot, 40 cents. I maintain a bearish bias as long as you're below 40 cents. If this thing pops above 40 cents, especially close the daily above there, I would not want to be bearish on this thing, but not want to be short. I would want to be either long or just out of this thing because, well, it is a shitcoin after all, and why play these things? But hey, it's your money. It's your life. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. But yeah, I do think you're going to bounce here. If that bounce brings you back above 40 cents, I'd want to be long in this thing, not short. But until then, I think you got areas of interest to the downside. First 30 cents, then about 25.5 cents for major bounces, and maybe 25.5 cents could actually be a next major low. But 22 cents, I mean, that's still much lower than what I'm looking at right here. I don't look at this as a valid descending trend because it technically does not fit the bill for that. Although you do have a downtrend, which is what matters more anyways. So, you've identified the important thing. It's a fucking downtrend. But yeah. All right, cool. Adam Kellane says, GM sirs, what's up, man? Watching since 2021? Hell fucking yes. We love the OGs. 2021 people are now an OG. If you've been around for more than one cycle, you can consider yourself an OG. But there are levels of OGs. There are OGs who were here in 2018. Those are the fucking platinum version of OGs. But 2021 is probably an OG at this point. You've been through a cycle, sir. Bought BNB at 620. Wanted to add more. Can we check out weekly? BNB last we looked at was actually pretty fucking bullish. Let's see if it's coming down with the rest of the market. Yes, indeed it is. Yes, indeed it is. Just coming down to our first weekly moving average. Okay, so you want to add more onto this. Look, you had a great buy, man. You basically bought the last major higher low on the monthly. You couldn't have done better. Now, do you want to double down as this thing comes down here? Look, adding to winners is not the worst idea long term. And this one objectively does have one of the best charts in cryptocurrency land. In fact, this one made new all-time highs last week. I mean, for fuck's sake, even Bitcoin didn't do that. I do think that you probably come down a little bit more from here. If you did want to, add more, I think that you'll get better prices somewhere between 850 to 800. But also, let's set up an area that, if met, I would not want to be DCAing into this thing. If this thing came back down below about $800 and started to close like a weekly there, I would not want to. I would think that this thing's failing. And also, very specifically, as we get to the end of the month here, if you see this thing start to slide below $900 by the end of September, that would also be a very concerning signal to me. I would not want to double down or add to this position, because I think you're just going to throw bad money after good money. You've had a great position already. I mean, you're up more than 50%. That's fucking phenomenal. But yeah. If it came down below $900 by the end of this, by the end of September, I would not want to be adding to that. I would want to be cutting shit loose is what I want to be doing. That's just me, though, of course, coming from my own perspective. But hey, man, congrats. I mean, that is a fucking killer trade right there. John Dude says BBAI retracement levels on high term timeframes. This one is one that I was looking at for my own. Sorry, I did the stupid crypto way of doing it. I was actually looking at this as a potential long-term investment myself many moons ago. Probably should have taken. I mean, it's actually pretty good. I was looking at buying it over here at about $4. Looks like it doubled that at one point. In this one, I do think in the short term you're coming down, man. I do think that you've hit a significant high right here, and you're in a consolidation phase, and now you're going to come down and hopefully set in a higher low. So I do think that you're going to inevitably be coming down lower than wherever you're at right now, maybe even as low as like $5.50. But that's really where I'd want to see another higher low. That would help with the bullish bias long term. Weekly, is this one actually reversing? It is a sloppy chart, yes, for sure. But, this is kind of how mid-caps work. So you still are technically bullish as long as you're above about $4.50, this low here from early September. I think that you're going to test some downside, at least $5.50 or so, but I'd give it a chance to put in a higher low first, man. Yeah, not terrible, but I really don't want to see it slide much more into the end of this month. What about a quarterly? Yeah, not much on a quarterly look at. So I was actually looking at the same one to invest in, but I actually ended up going with Red Cat. Very, very similar charts, to be fair. I mean, more or less the same shit in the short term here. I guess Red Cat's maybe a little bit stronger, but it's going to do the same thing. It's going to come down as well. But similar idea here, man. So I'm kind of on the same side of you. I do think that these ones will come lower, though. I don't think that these are like breakout moves right here. If it was going to break out, we would have seen this move earlier this week hold, and it's selling off into the last day of the week. So it looks like my only defense stonk that's really killing it right now is Kratos. Like, the fuck, man. Look at this one every day. I'm like, this seems pretty crazy. It seems pretty crazy to me. Anyways, Adam Killian is back. He's looking at super weekly, monthly, if possible. What's the TA on the lows and highs of the range? We can definitely look at that. Last we looked at it, I said, don't like what it's doing. I have to have a bearish bias on this, and it is lower. It is now lower. And the monthly, look, hey, I love Elliot. He is a good friend. As far as charts goes, I'm not liking what the hell this one's doing, man. I don't like what the hell this one's doing. This is a lower swing high right here, and now you're pushing off after the rejection from August. So I think that this thing's more likely to come down to 37 cents or whatever your low was from basically the all of 2025 in April. I think it's a lot likely to come down there at least. And shit, man, I mean, if this is a real breakdown, then that's going to get very fucking ugly. Very fucking ugly. So, what's the highs and lows of the range? I mean, technically, this is the low of your range. The price action pivot low is exactly where I'd have it, as well as the high. Price action pivots doing their fucking job as usual. Love it, man. Fucking love this one. But the low side would be about just under 37 cents. The high side would be about 94 cents. And I would have to have a bearish bias on this thing just because of the current trend. I think that you're going to test the low side of this again. There should be a bounce there on the first pass. But after that, this thing does have real potential to break down. It's not doing great right there. Weekly time frame, are you going to get a bounce off of this low right here? I think you're kind of getting that right now in the short term, but this is setting up for a breakdown in October, as are most things. It's not good. I would have a bearish bias on this one as long as you're below your September the 17th high of 62 or 61.7 cents. And even above there, I mean, that just flips the daily, not the weekly. The weekly is very far away, very, very far away. Again, that range high is closer to 94 cents. So it's got a lot of work to do if it wants to reverse itself and prove itself here. Again, things, whenever you see a shitcoin putting in lower highs relative to its relative to its current cycle highs, relative to its current cycle earlier highs, if that makes sense. Basically, what I'm trying to say is you you put in your high over here. Later on, when Bitcoin was making new highs, later in this year, later in the cycle, this one put in lower highs. That is not a good sign, is what I'm trying to say on anything. Plonker says, hey, man, can we check Intel daily, weekly, monthly? Yeah, full disclosure, I do own this one, Intel. I did not know about this. I bought this one back in 2022, actually. I had no idea it was going to be adopted by the fucking government, or probably the most concerning thing that I've seen from the Trump government is buying a fucking company, I guess. But I don't really know the details of it, so I'd probably have to do more research in it to really know if it's actually concerning or not. But looking at the daily, weekly, monthly, look, the monthly, you're at a major moving average right now. The monthly 200 simple, that white moving average right there. If it's going to pull back in the short term, that would be the place to do it at. Quarterly time frame, also rallying into major moving averages right here. It's hard not to look at these tests on the first pass as more than likely to pull back and then maybe try some upside, because ultimately this is one massive falling channel here defined by the price action pivots, but it can remain in that channel for a while. Might look something like this, might even actually bust through here, then come down, then go for the breakout. But I do think there's going to be one more pullback before a real breakout attempt. And at that point, yeah, you probably see somewhere around $50 or so. If we go down to a daily time frame, do I think that you're hitting a high here? You're definitely hitting some extremes, that's for sure. Daily volatility at real extreme levels right now, but I think you might spend some time spiking this region before you pull back and then look for the higher low, and then that I think the next try after that will be the real breakout attempt. Yeah, weekly also rallying right into the 377 EMA. I don't want to call for this one to break out from here. Because it's just, in my experience, it's not wise to do that on the first pass of a major moving average like this. It's better to be looking for a grind and likely pullback and then the try. Doesn't mean it's always going to happen like that, but that's what's more than likely to happen in these cases. Mr. Gallo's back. What's up, man? AVAX Weekly is about to be over. Major tops are April 22, March 22, December 2024, and now, question mark, looking to scoop some at 26 or 23. 2 months about to print bullish divergence. Yeah, this one I was looking at earlier today. I'm definitely going to be wrong on this one, because earlier this week I was saying, I think that this one still could trade higher, maybe close to like $40 or $45. It did get up to about 36 and change, but obviously, that's not going to be anywhere near $40, or it's 10% away still. So I think that this one's just joining the rest of the market, man. We already see that the weekly is basically a bearish engulfing dildo. Also can be considered a rejection of the 200 simple here as well. Look, you're very likely going to come down to those targets, man. But do you want to fucking buy it there? It's about to put in another lower high. Like, why do you want to buy a downwards asset? I love you, sir, but I don't fucking understand why you have this obsession with buying literal down-only assets. I really don't get it, man. You can find upwards trending shit and try to buy higher lows in those. Why do you want to buy a low in something like this, man? Again, the probabilities just go further and further against you. It's not fucking good. Look, technically it has not confirmed a bearish engulfing just yet, but confirmation or not, for fuck's sake, rejection at the 200 simple. You're already below that low. It is Friday, so realistically, we can't expect too much over the weekend anyways. It's very likely going to end up that way if I had to bet on it. I think that this thing's going to come much below your areas at 26 or 23. I just want to understand your sort of philosophy here. What is compelling you to want to buy this thing? Which has literally been down only. It cannot put in higher highs. This is pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. This thing's a lot likely to come back down to your 2025 lows than it is to make a new high now above 36. And once this week closes, assuming it's anywhere below $28, I would feel very confident in that statement. As of right now, obviously that's not happened, so I would feel less confident. But if that does happen, I'd feel very confident in that statement. You're not going to see above $37 for a very long time, maybe even ever. This thing doesn't even know how to put in higher highs anyways, so probably better to say ever anyways, but I will say just for a long time. again, a lot more likely to come back down here, man. So, you know, you're why buy it at $26 when you can buy it at, you know, $18 or $19? Again, there will be bounces along the way. So if you want to play bounces, I mean, hey, fair enough. But just understand you are trying to pick up fucking pennies on a railroad track while this steaming train is coming in. It's like that meme where the train smashes into the fucking mountain and then it smashes and smashes and smashes like a big old bunghole, and then little blood comes out. And that's you, unfortunately, because you're getting bleeded on, sir. You're getting period blood on you. It's very, very bad and also not sanitized. So my suggestion would be reflect upon, why do we have this obsession to buy downwards assets? I'm genuinely curious. I'm not like trying to be a dickhead or anything like that. I actually do want to know. You know why? You know deep down why people do this shit. I mean, the logical reason would be because you just like to lose money, I guess. I don't. That would seem very strange to me, but I'll probably wait for Bitcoin and Ethereum to find a bottom. Look, you might be doing that, but is this thing even to have better percentage returns if they find a bottom? I don't think so, man. Like these are failures. These are failures. Again, I'm not calling you a failure by any stretch of the imagination. I'm calling this chart a fucking failure, man. It takes all of its opportunities to fail. All of the opportunities it gets, it loves to fail. Just fumbles them, man. It's beautiful. Anyways, Straight Path says CLSK. Is it cooked? Is it cooked? Yeah, that's what Elsa always. She's like, I'm cooked, in like her Finnish accent. She's like, no, I'm cooked. Like we'll be playing Mario Kart, and she goes, I am, as the kids say, cooked. Is it cooked? I mean, yeah, I don't like this shit, man. Again, a rejection right here at the weekly 377. That's exactly where you found your highs for the past couple years. Then again, I go to the monthly. It's like, I wouldn't feel comfortable to say that it's cooked yet. I'm cooking. Let him cook. I hate these memes. They're so fucking cringe. Let bro cook. Like, you F word. You fucking, you uncreative fuck. You uncreative fuck. Bro is cooking. It's like, no, he's not. He's making a post on social media. You fucking idiot. I'm cooked. He's cooking. We're all cooked. Maybe I'm definitely getting old when I'm thinking like, these youngins, they and their stupid vernacular, their stupid sayings. Get the fuck off my lawn too while you're at it. Actually, I wouldn't say that just yet. Yes, the weekly is at a level that could be cooking. It could be cooking. Still got 4.5 days left to go. With the monthly looking like this, I probably wouldn't say it's cooked just yet. I'd feel a lot better about it if it was still above 1370. That was the number that we gave out last time we looked at this one. I'm pretty sure we looked at it for you. If it can rally back above there by end of month, I'd say not cooked. It's okay. No cap, yes. No cap. We used to just say no shit. Anyways, last time we looked at it, it was above 1370. If it can get back above there by end of month, I'd say the cooking is off. Very uncooked, very raw. If it stays below 1370 by end of month, then I'd say, I think you're getting cooked. I think it's some cooking action. You're in the kitchen getting cooked. Let's see. Chris Vela says, M87 Outlook, please. Did I send a super chat for a mic strategy? Maybe. I'll have to scroll up. Let's do this one first, and then we'll get into that one. Is this a crypto? Oh, it's messier. Bad. Cooked. Very, very, the heat is very high. We are deep inside this oven, and we are fucking cooked at this point. This one is browning. It's ready, and it is ready to go inside your mouth and getting cooked out your asshole as well, man. Look, in the short term, does it bounce off of this last low? Probably, yeah, but don't get fucking sucked into this thing. This is a garbage shitcoin chart, as usual. Parabolic blow off top as soon as it gets released. Then it spends a whole year, while most other things were making new highs, such as Bitcoin. This thing spends it making lower highs and lower lows. Amazing. It puts in a downtrend during a bull market. That's strength. That's great. That's cooking, right? We're cooking. Yes. The devs are cooking. Yeah, fuck you. Not you, Chris Fella, but fuck this chart. Fuck this chart, this cooked ass chart, okay? It sucks. Sorry, bro. I just had to send the lizard whales away. All right, the real knowledge here, man. Look, this is under whale accumulation for real. Okay, I've never seen a more bullish chart. Look at this, man. Not only does it go lower every time it makes a new low, but it has been making lower highs as well. That is the key signal of a very bullish, not cooked asset. Yeah, terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible. All right, MicroStrategy, probably also not great, but I think it's hit our downside target of like 370, or yeah, was it? No, 270. No, it has not. It has not hit that target yet. But it will happen. Don't you worry. Very likely to happen, I think now. Been bearish on this chart for a while. I should acknowledge, though, that you are hitting a major moving average on the month. Sorry, not on the monthly, on the quarterly here at 285, basically the low of this quarter thus far. So I think it probably spends a little bit of time bouncing from that number. Similar to Bitcoin, right? Probably bounces from here. I don't know, maybe even fills this gap or even a little bit higher up to like 335 or something like that. But then I think you come back down and you base around here. I still think it gets around 270-ish. And I think that's where you may put in a higher low, because long term, this is like not bad, actually. You know, if we go to the monthly, this is not bad. But I do think that you're going to put in a wick lower towards the yellow moving average here first. And then if you rally very significantly from that, that's where I'd say, hey, this is actually quite good. And this is going to be the next monthly higher low, and this thing should carry upwards and onwards. But for right now, it's still kind of, I think you've seen most of this downside move now. I think you've seen most of it, but I think it has maybe one more stab a little bit lower. Maybe one more stab. Something like that, man. We've got some cooking action coming up here from Crypto Shart. Is syrup cooking? Is it cooked? Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Cooking for Cocoa Puffs, yes. You know what's crazy, man, is that when I was a kid, I thought like cereal was actually healthy food, and then I grew up and started to look at these labels, and it's not actually. It's really not. Funny, like sugar-coated fucking corn syrup is not healthy for you. Amazing. Anyways, I'll be sure to take my fucking Advils when I get pregnant as a man later on. Too. Let's listen to the experts there. Anyways, yeah, experts all agree that Honey Nut Cheerios are great for your heart. Anyways, yeah, I think this one, the devs are no longer cooking, and it is now in the process of being cooked, and holders are about to get absolutely fucking bukkake fucking skewered. Yeah, man, this is bad. See, this is always my issue when I look at a bull shitcoin chart. It's like, maybe it's just a little bit earlier for this thing, because they all follow the same direction. Blow off your top, and then lower highs the whole way through. Beautiful. Look, if your favorite shitcoin does not make new highs, here is just a general rule that you can apply to your favorite shitcoins. It's not always going to work, but it's going to work 99% of the time. If your favorite shitcoin does not make new highs within about a week of Bitcoin making new highs, it's not going to be good long term. Yes, they may have big bounces. They might be very big bounces, but it will never be a great uptrending asset. That is my point. Anyways, yeah, this thing, again, it's like you're around these prior lows. Maybe you got a pity bounce around there. Maybe you don't. I don't know. The direction is down, though. This thing is ready to fail the overwhelming majority, if not all of the rally that you've seen throughout this thing's life. I think your next major area of interest is going to be somewhere around about 33 cents. I think that you will have a big bounce there. Will it be the next major low? Possibly, but let it get there first. In the very, very short term, do you try bounce from here first and then head down? Maybe. But again, direction is down, man. This thing is heavily fucking bearish as long as you're below even this most recent price action pivot high of 42.25. I mean, it's, honestly, in general, if you want my analysis on most of these shitcoins, I would just get the price action pivots indicator. Again, you can try this thing out for free for 7 days. You just want a quick opinion. Look at where the most recent pivot is. If it's a bearish pivot, probably should be bearish, and that's the big pivot to be aware of. Like, that is going to really be, I think a really focal point for most of these things that we've looked at, especially on the daily, even daily to weekly. Those are big pivot points. I do believe that are probably going to hold for a while. Anyways, all right, enough cooking. The video kingdom says NIO stock, please. This was I think this was like a meme stock maybe a year or two ago. I just remember this one from a while ago. And yeah, it's doing what meme stocks do, which is go down. Oh no, this one was a 2020 Rona meme stock. Oh nice, look at this. Descending triangle over here played out and then goes even lower. Look, so it's basically a shitcoin chart, right? And my point here is that it's just not wise to be looking for any sort of real reversals. So, is this thing going to top out right here? Does it try a little bit higher towards $10? That I really don't know. If I had to guess, this is going to be a major high right here on a weekly and it swings back down, but it's not confirmed right now. It will be confirmed if this thing comes back down below last week's low, which was 642. If you see it even trade below that low, I'd say, hey, this is going to be your next lower high for a long time, and you're very likely to come back down below $5. However, as long as it's above that number, I think that you could still have maybe a little bit of hopium for maybe one more push up towards $10, but that would be my sort of like maximum area for the next major lower high, if it even gets there. But yeah, a little bit of hopium as long as it's above that last week low. Second that you lose that, no more hopium. Very bad, very cooked. Anyways, Kenneth says, thank you, Crown. I exited my IREN call position, 1,600% in profit. Fucking yes. Fucking yes. I love this, man. Hell yeah. I got in sub $3 late 2023. Late in 2023. Hell yeah, man. I cooked. You cooked, man. You cooked like fucking crazy. Look, you are not my financial advisor, but you helped stay in this trade for as long as I did. Yeah, man, look, I'm happy to give an opinion. I just don't want to ever be like super specific with people because one, I will never know, all of the details, which could make me even have a good opinion. And then two, of course, I mean, that's just that's financial advice. It's legal to do. But yeah, I'm glad that it offered some sort of help on the side. But as always, man, that's your gain, man. Fucking yes. 1,600% in profit. Beautiful. Just fucking beautiful. I love it, man. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it, man. Adam Kalane says VOO. This is Vanguard's ETF for S&P. Let's see what this one's doing. Looking to hold 5 to 10 years. Looking to add to position at low end of the range for what time frame? What makes this difficult is that's just overall bullish chart. So it's like how cute do you want to get on a pullback? Because as of right now, it's not even a local high just yet, although it probably does end up being. Look, if this thing came back down to like 585 ish, I think that would be fine. If you just want to add and hold for like 5 to 10 years, that would be an area that I'd be looking at. If it dropped down to about 545 to 550, that would be another major area, or even this gap over here about 525. All of those would be areas that I'd be personally interested in DCing myself. Now let's see how big of a drop off that would be from the high. Okay, 6% right there. It's still a little bit on the shallower end for like a real correction. And I don't think you're going to get a real correction from here anyways, because, you just had a major one in April. Comes down here. Okay, that's 10%. Yeah, so about 550 is where I become very interested. But the real question is, does it even get down around there? I mean, I don't like being looking for like significant downside on things that have just made new all-time highs, especially like these major traditional market ETFs. But yeah, do I think you play out some downside from here? Sure. I don't know. If you just want to add somewhere around here is probably fine. You're probably going to get that too. As he says, when I was younger, I believed in the Tooth Fairy. Yes, me as well. Glyphosate and Cheerios, breakfast of champions. I know. It's actually insane. It's actually insane how backwards some of this stuff is. It's really crazy. I'm very glad that we were. I'm very glad that we were born during this time where we actually have access to the internet and access to all this information, because in the past we just didn't even really know. Like no one really fucking knew, you'd read on the side of the box and be like, Honey Nut Cheerios, good for your heart. It's like, okay, probably good for your heart. And then you'd like see some sort of an athlete on the box as well. And you'd be like, they're eating this as well. Derek Jeter eats fucking McDonald's. He's good. He's good at baseball. I should probably do the same thing too. Amazing. Great idea. Anyways, I'll get to some of these other comments here. Oh shit, I'm getting a call right now. Let me mute this. I need to take this call really quickly. All right, we're back. We're back. All sorts of calls recently. All sorts of calls. It's Elsa calling. It could be Elsa calling. No. Elsa's in the background, actually. Anyways, impaled rectum. Great name. Great name. Any thoughts on CDNS long term? I'm guessing this is a stock. CDNS, Cadence Design Systems. All right. Cool name, I guess. Long term, I mean, I think you're hitting a local high right here, and you're going to spend some time going sideways, but I wouldn't be bearish long term. Overall, this is very, very good long term. So what is my opinion long term? This is fucking good, man. I just think you're going to spend some time consolidating, going sideways. Maybe it comes back down to like 335 again, but I'd be bullish on this thing as long as you're above the September low of 325 or so. Something like that, man. It's Nancy Pelosi on the other line. Yep, we're talking about our next stock picks and how we're gonna deceive the little fish out of their holdings of herpity derp coin. The exchange staff were on the phone. They didn't like what we said. Glyphosate with milk. They've been trying to redact us for a while. That's what I really go back and forth with, Asti, is that was all this stuff like, did they intentionally do it, or was it just a natural result of the way that business systems were set up and they're just like trying to maximize profits? I think it's probably the latter. I don't think that like they were actually trying to like, because that would just take so much fucking collusion. And it wouldn't even make sense now that we have all the information too, because like who would actually want to buy that shit once you actually know? Then again, I actually watched these TikTok videos from this channel on YouTube about bad moms, or like basically moms who just they just feed their children just like the absolute worst shit, and they will do that anyways. They will do that anyways. Then again, the moms, they're also like obese fucking whales, which is just insane. But yeah. Terrible, man. Terrible. That's, I mean, that really is child abuse, isn't it? Right? I mean, for fuck's sake, like in today's day and age, you can't do that. Like, you cannot do that. It's crazy. Mr. ARN is back. He's looking at total 3 weekly. Okay, so this is the total market cap of everything minus Bitcoin, Ethereum, and dollar derivatives. I remember. Yeah, so yet another rejection at these same highs. It's actually, honestly, this is not a bearish chart overall, but I do think you've hit a swing high here and you're going to be coming down for a while. So, you're probably going to bounce here around the 21, maybe bounce back up to like 107, then come down here. Maybe that's going to be the higher low. Maybe that one tries up. But yeah, generally down with bounces along the way. I actually would not be bearish on this long term, honestly. This is just another rejection at the highs. I look at this consolidation at the highs. So yeah, I think you're going to come down significantly, but it's likely going to be a higher low on the higher term time frames. At least that's how I'd be looking at it on the next downside move. I'd really want to get like super bearish on this thing below like 850 billion. Yeah. I mean, it has been quite constructive here. Just, this is another swing high, very obviously. And then you're also looking at AVE. Sir, like... You can't. I will look at it. Yeah. At least it's not one of these like seriously down only charts. Like at least it had a pretty big bounce this cycle. But again, it's never going to get back above this high. And I imagine getting back above this high is going to be difficult enough. Look, this is looking like a monthly swing high, man. It's really looking like a monthly swing high coming into the end of this month. While I think that it would get a short-term bounce kind of from where the low is at from this week, it might even be from a little bit lower at like 244-ish region. I still think that this thing is going to come down a little bit lower, maybe somewhere around here. I think this would be the hopium for a real higher low on this thing, and then to try to some like real upside. But again, man, like, do I really think that something like this is actually going to reverse the long-term trend? It's so unlikely for these things to do. It's so rare that it even happens. Of course, I'm not going to say that. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but I'm always going to go with what's more likely. And I have to say that I don't see any reason why this thing wouldn't follow what most of these things do. So yeah. Anyways, Gallo says, on stock, sold most of what I bought on March in July. Shit has still been going up. Still. Yeah, it's crazy, man. When you have a real asset that has a real uptrend, they just go up. It's amazing. Sold Tesla, Nvidia, EL. Now what? Wait for a crash. I want another March, but looks like it won't be another soon. It's a difficult position to be in, man. It's a difficult position to be in. If I was in a position like this, so the position is I sold all my stonks. I realized, oh shit, I should maybe be more of a long-term investor, but I herpity derped it. And I let go of my long-term investments. First off, you never need to offload everything, man. You never need to offload everything, especially if you're going to take on the sort of role of more of a long-term investor. You don't need to get out of everything. Maybe you go down to like 10% of your position or something like that. That's fine. But to get out of everything, usually not the best decision, just in general, because, there's always some sort of probability that you may be completely wrong, right? Anyways, if I was in that position and I am specifically a long-term investor, so I'm making a really specific type of avatar here. This is not going to be true for someone who needs something to go up now. Go up now. Tell the developers to make it go up now so I can make some money now. Then what I would do is I would actually weekly DCA a small amount. Okay, these would be very, very small amounts. And then I would wait for a 10% or more correction to go in with bigger amounts. The reason why weekly DCA is because you're not guaranteed that you're going to get a major pullback in the short term. And it also could very well be that this thing continues to rally and then your 10% pullback brings you to where you're at right now. It's a possibility, of course. Maybe that it doesn't happen exactly like that, but it's possible, right? So that way you're kind of getting some in now. You're getting a little bit of exposure now, but it's very small. And then if and when you do get the big opportunity, then you can go in big. That's how I would do it personally if these are meant to be long-term investments. Now, if you're trying to trade these, then it's a different thing. Then you just have to wait for that, that washout move that brings you down to one of those major moving averages or just, a big percent correction, something like that. So it depends on what game you're trying to play there. But yeah, that's kind of how I'd do it if I was in that situation. David Middleton says, so is a top in for Chainlink? I imagine it's probably following in the same path as Cardano, as Dogecoin, as XRP. So I'm going to guess probably yes. But look, this is definitely a swing top right here. Is this like the next major high for the eternity of eternity? I don't know if I'd say that just yet. It's certainly concerning to see it make a lower high compared to its 2024 high. But again, my rule is, man, as long as you're above all major moving averages on a monthly, I really don't want to front run getting too bearish, but you are starting to get pretty damn close to that. Or actually you're at what the number was earlier. So yeah, it is at $20.50. So yeah, probably yes. So it's like, yeah, you might get a short-term bounce off of this 21, but I think that you are coming down from this region. I really don't like these sell-offs into the end of the month and quarter. It's not a good sign. If this thing were still above $23 and it was the end of the quarter, I'd say, look, it's okay, it's fine. But looking at this, just granted the history, I have to say, I wouldn't be relying on that. So yeah. Happy says, thinking lower for Ethereum. Am I still thinking lower for Ethereum? Mayox Lab says Ethereum may touch 3,300. Let's see where Ethereum's at right now. How is it holding up during this? I haven't even looked myself. Let's see. 39.50. Okay, so last we looked at it, I did say somewhere around 36 to 36.50-ish region, and it got down to 38.25, so not quite there just yet. So I do still think that you have some downside to go. Is it going to come down to 3,300? I mean, look, if it comes down to 3,300, I'm not opposed to that happening or anything like this, but I would just think that's going to be inherently bearish to begin with because, well, now you're back around that last prior major low. So while you probably get a bounce there, it would be a bearish bias on the bounce because now you have a lower high and same lows, so that has to shift bias towards downtrend. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed; it's just more likely. But generally, I do still think that you're going to hit somewhere around, let's just call it somewhere between 36 to 37. Should try for a bounce there. And then hopefully for the BULA's sake, it does not fail that bounce. I'll put it that way. But yeah. For now, this can still be kind of interpreted as just a retest of the prior consolidation high, and maybe it's going to be okay. Maybe. Quarterly, again, it's very similar to Link. It's like if this one were above 4,100 on a quarterly, this would make it very, very easy to be bullish on this thing coming into Q4 of this year. Now that it's below, that becomes less of an obvious call to me. So I don't know about 3,300. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying if it gets down there, I would be thinking ultimately you go lower. But yeah. Creighton, where you at? Been missing your kitchen rants. Nice. Indeed, man. Indeed. Somehow it became a goal here to be #1 in obesity. Look how poorly they react to That is one of the reaction to RFK is where I realized that this is it's totally a political game, because anyone with a connection to the internet knows that he might not be right on everything, but he's mostly right on the things, especially that matter. I mean, for fuck's sake, to oppose these things and to pretend that we were on any semblance of a good road towards real health in the U.S. is just fucking retardium. And I use that word 100% directly and preferably, because it is just retarded to think that having some of the highest obesity rates in the whole world, it's actually not the highest, but it is some of the highest in the whole world, is pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. It's also kind of a good marker of of our society, though, I guess, as well. Like, at least people aren't fucking starving. I guess they're starving for like real nutrition, but at least they're not like actually starving. So it's a better problem to have, I suppose, if you have to choose your problems. But yeah, man, very bad. Like, just and oh my god. Okay, the absolute height of just retardium that I've seen with regards to RFK is when RFK posted like a video of himself hiking up of some big mountain in jeans in Arizona. So it was hot. And then one of like the major mainstream publications was like, RFK is doing very irresponsible exercises that you should not be following, because it is very dangerous to be exercising in such heat, especially while wearing such gear. It's like, fuck you, and honestly, just leave, because you are honestly what is wrong with America, or a major part of what's wrong with America. Fuck you, just fuck you. Disgusting that they would actually promote that sort of behavior, as if like being on your fucking couch is better. Fuck you, just go fuck yourself. You are pathetic, writer. It really is insane, man. It's really insane. Eduardo wants to look at hype. Let's look at hype. That's been one of the strongest ones. So if anything maybe has a shot at hopium, it might be this thing. It's up 6% on the day, but a major monthly is not looking too good. Look, man, if this thing finishes the month out below, especially $50, I'm calling a top here. I'm calling a major swing high here. Now, in the short term, I do think it will rally actually off of this low. I do think, and I think a lot of these things might have some short-term rallies. This thing could rally actually all the way up to $50. Definitely possible. But assuming it finishes this month out below $50, I would feel very confident calling a top here for a very long time, like a monthly swing high here. And this thing, comes well below, $30 long term. But next major target would be like $30 or so. Sorry, you're on a 4-hour daily. You don't give a fuck about that. Short term, a lot more likely to bounce here than to continue to fall. You got major drives of bullish divergence on the 4-hour time frame. Daily time frame, probably not going to have bullish divergence, but it wouldn't take too much to get a bounce into the like 46, 47 area. So yeah. Dude, RFK is in better shape than, I mean, people his age, probably everyone, it's probably like 0.0001% of people his age who are in better shape than him. Like, I always, like, anytime, the lack of self-awareness when I see people criticize him, especially the boomer generation, my parents are boomers. And whenever I hear like someone their age talk shit about him, I'm just like, look in the fucking mirror. Obviously what you're doing is not working. Like, you just hate him because you're told to hate him. That's the only reason why. Like, for fuck's sake, whatever the hell you're doing is definitely not working. Anyways, Mr. Tom Crown, my good brother, how you doing, man? Good to see you here. Good to see you here as always, man. We're actually getting near the end of the stream. It's been a long 2 hours already. Who do I talk about? Who do I talk to about my bull run refund? My bull retard refund. I need it. I need it right now. Send your request to tone@vase.com. Just kidding. I don't even know what the hell Tone Vase do anymore. Is he still making videos? I actually like him, man. He's an OG of OGs, but he's just the first name that came to me. Yeah, we did do BBAI, John, dude. We actually did do BBAI. I think I was looking at a swing high right there. We can actually go back to it really quickly here. I think stonks are just a lot more interesting right now. Yeah, this to me is a swing high on the daily. I think they're coming back down to 5.5-ish or so. But I wouldn't necessarily be bearish on this long term as long as you're above about 4.5. So, it's a big range here. But yeah, I think this actually very well could be a real reversal long term. It's just short term. I think that you're coming down. He needs glasses for it. I think this is a buy the hype, sell the news, end of this bull run, smaller run than normal. It's possible. I'm very much open to that. But as far as calling like an end to this bull market cycle, I wouldn't do it yet personally, because I want to see a monthly downtrend actually emerge. Look, there's reasons to believe that for sure. And I do think that we are going to get some downside from here. And I'm definitely not opposed to that idea. But I'm not going to call for that as long as the monthly especially has an uptrend still. And for that to be destroyed, Bitcoin would need to come down below the April 2025 low. So it's really, really far away. I think Bitcoin could easily come down to like 93, 94, 95 and put in a low there and continue up later on. I think that that's very possible as well. So, I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. I've definitely done that in the past, and I don't want to make that same mistake in the future. So not impossible. Like I said, I do think that there's downside here, but even if it came down like another 20%, it's still a higher low. And realistically, if Bitcoin did come down to like mid 90s, that's about a 24, 25% dump off. That's for Bitcoin, that's not crazy. It's relevant to think that, hey, maybe that could be a realistic downside move for Bitcoin. If it goes 30%, where would that bring us down towards? That's still actually on a higher low, right on the monthly 21 EMA. That would be 84.5, 85,000 bucks. So again, these are still within the context of normality. Like I said, I'm not opposed to what you're saying at all, but I personally need to see an actual downtrend emerging. And the reason why I'm not even too concerned with calling it from the exact highs, because even if you did do something like this, like let's say Bitcoin does literally top exactly from here, comes all the way down to that April low, you're very likely going to get a big bounce from there that probably rallies up to like 100,000 bucks. That's where I'd be more interested in saying, hey, okay, this is where I want to exit, or this is where I want to short. This is where I want to actually take some action, because then the bias goes towards, this is probably going to be a lower high and you already get same lows. So that's a downtrend, more than likely emerging for the long term. So that's what I'd say about that, man. For me, it's still a little bit further away. I do think Bitcoin's coming down more here, but I just think for me, it's too far away is what I'm trying to say. Crown, you surf any of that swell this past week? No, I don't even know what that is, to be honest. Is it cooking or not? Is it cook or not? Is it fuck or not? Is it cook or not? Most benefits are 72 hours, then it just goes... okay, I'm reading this out of context. I have no idea what that's talking about. Could you please review Solana? Review it. Yes, I will do a 5-page book report review on the Solana coin network. It's very good, very, very bullish, very cooking. The Solana devs have been cooking for a long time, sir, and that means good, because as we all know, cooking is better than not cooking, or getting uncooked, I guess, or being raw or some shit like that. Look, last we looked at this, we said, hey, this is likely going to be a swing high right here, and it's going to come down to like 200-ish region. We've already got down to 200. In fact, it's gotten much below 200, all the way to 190. I do think in the short term, you might get a bounce very soon from that 190 lower. Maybe it goes to like 188 first. But I would be looking at this as a significant high here, meaning that I would actually have kind of a bearish bias as long as you're below 250. Now, that's very far away, but basically in the short term, do I think that you're going to potentially rally, in the short term? Maybe it drops a little bit lower and then rallies, or maybe it does it from here. I don't know. I think you could rally easily to like 215, 220-ish region, but that's where I'd be expecting on a lower high if it's going to reject and come back down, because this does really look like a significant high right here. And with the monthly closing very soon and looking something like this, I mean... looks a little bit cooked, bro. Hey, bro. Looking cooked. I'm looking a little bit cooked over here. Oh, yes, we're cooking. We're cooking Solana. Cooking it so much that it's getting cooked all the way down to fucking 150. No, 120. We are cooking even further than that as the devs get even deeper into their fucking kitchen, drawing this one up and turning up the fucking heat to cook it even faster. Yeah, I don't like this, man. I don't like what this one's doing as well. Again, we still haven't seen the monthly closure. It's still another, 4.5 days away. It's very possible this one could rally back above 220 by end of month, and then, I would be, it's uncooked. It was once cooked, and now it's been uncooked. But in this case, usually falling into the end of the month, that's not going to be considered a good sign, man. But hey, if it rallied back above about 215-ish by end of month, I would change my opinion on that. And I'll say, no, the devs are cooking. They're cooking. It's very raw. Very good. Asti says NPPTF. NPPTF. And then people are also asking about short-term time frame. I think in the short term, you're a lot more likely to bounce here than not, actually. NPPTF. Neptune Digital Assets. What is this? It's going down in the short term, but... Well, it's going down in the short term. You got a weekly downtrend ever since 2025 began, so I don't like what the hell this thing's doing. I don't know what the hell it does, but I don't like what it's doing. I think you're more likely to retest your low from September or maybe even go slightly lower towards 59, 60 cents region. Should be a bounce, but I wouldn't be biased towards the upside. But there is a really, really, really easy way to get bullish on this thing. It only would need a trade above and preferably close a daily above this swing high from middle of September. That would be 97.5 cents. It's quite far away from that number right now, but hey, that would be my condition for invalidation and just being blindly bullish. Until then, downtrends will be downtrends, so I'll just be looking for this thing to continue onwards and downwards. You know, if it does fall apart, got to be looking for it to come back down to the 200 simple here, if that really does happen. But yeah, as of right now, you know, I feel like if this thing was really going to be good and continue with the long-term uptrend, it would have done it somewhere around this low over here from June, you know, somewhere in the summer. Instead, it just put in lower lows and lower highs. So I'm a lot more biased with this thing breaking down. Again, the Solana Herp and Dirt pattern, I guess it's kind of there. I wouldn't necessarily identify it as such myself. I mean, the target would literally be like negative prices, so that probably tells you that it's not exactly that, but I also wouldn't necessarily say that it's bullish. Crypto Grok says, Crown, could you please take a look at Virtual? Sure. This one was quite popular even a couple of months ago, or I don't know, this past year maybe. Let's see how it's doing now. It's doing great, right? The devs are cooking as usual. Very cooked. Very, 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 very cooking technology. Yeah, man. Similar analysis on this one in the short term compared to the last one, even though the last one was an actual stock. Look, back above this high from September 13th at 142.5, or 141, the price action pivot right here. Look, I'd be happy to get bullish on something like this, but you know, this thing's been in a downtrend ever since, I mean, realistically January, and more nastily since May. You know, if I think Bitcoin's going to drop more, generally, I think that this one's going to probably drop more as well. It's probably going to come down all the way to its 2025 lows. Okay, yeah, 2025 lows here, you know, given enough time. There's going to be bounces along the way, obviously, maybe in the short term, somewhere around 90 cents, but the direction is down, man. The direction is down. As long as you're below this high at 140 or 141, the direction is just, the trend is down. Let the trend be your friend. All right. This cycle, whenever I hear a lot of people talking about alt season starting, it's been a great time to short. Very true. Very true. What's up, Shipwreck? I see you over there, man. I see you over there. Hopefully we get some rain soon. I'm looking for a nice storm. A nice good old storm. All right, guys. I think that's probably going to do it for today's stream. We've been actually over 2 hours right now. We looked at Aave earlier. It's still a piece of garbage, actually. So, yes, I just did it, actually. So we're all good there. Yeah, guys, it's been a really, really fun stream as always. I really enjoyed the conversations. We cooked. We also did some uncooking as well, but that is okay. And so we'll be back on again Monday with another live stream analysis. I'm going to try to finish that video that I was speaking about earlier this weekend. If I don't, that's just the way that it is. I want to make sure that it's good. So before I release it, so maybe it ends up being next weekend, but we'll see. We'll see if it comes out tomorrow or not. I'll work on it a little bit later today. And other than that, I just want to wish everyone the best as always. Take care, much love, and much cooking as well for everyone in this community. And see you hopefully next time.